I think we're living through a moment in time where something that we've always just taken for granted is eroding. And that's been Hany Farid's big fear from 20 years ago, that we will live in a world where there is so much imagery where you can't say anymore whether it's real or not without really delving deep into them. I'm Kai Kupferschmidt. I usually cover infectious diseases, but more recently I've also started to write about our information ecosystem, about the issues of misinformation and disinformation. When you talk to people about deepfakes, Hany Farid's name comes up almost invariably within the first few minutes of conversation. He's been doing this since the beginning of digital photography. I went and talked to him about his daily work of sorting through these images and videos and understanding how he determines whether something is real or not. I was there the day after he had received a video of the missile strike on a school in Iran. There was a lot of debate about whether that video was real, and so he was checking that video.
So let me show you the video first that came out. A couple of things about the video to notice. First of all, that camera motion is not, AI doesn't do this right now. You don't see that kind of really dramatic camera moving. Now, the other thing you want to look at with a video like this, in a lot of these fake explosions, none of the pedestrians are responding. So there does seem to be some action here. That explosion doesn't look AI generated. The AI generated videos are overly dramatic. They have a ton of fire and they tend to be very billowy, like almost like a nuclear explosion. We were able to geolocate. This does seem to be the right neighborhood. And I think that explosion is real. So what's the concern? Is that actually a Tomahawk missile? Once they start coming down like this, it's pure gravity. The physics of that is very straightforward. And over that short gap, that thing should be moving in a straight line. At this point, I thought, my wife will say the same thing. We were both really irritated. It was like, oh, the line is perfect. Oh, but the gap is not right.
His wife is also a professor at Berkeley who studies computer vision. So in a situation like that Sunday when Hany was checking the video from Iran, she will basically collaborate with him on this and look at some of these things.
The thing with proving authenticity is you're never really done. That gap was nagging me. So I did then the measurements, and I estimated both from the speed of sound and from the size of the Tomahawk missile, 100 meters.
We used to do this as kids, and we used to count.
Yeah, the seconds for thunder.
Between the,
and then you could estimate how far it is away, right?
Yeah.
So you can count the gap at about 1/3 of a second. Yeah. And the speed of sound is about 300 meters per second. That's about 100 meters. So first of all, to get that gap right in an AI generated video is non-trivial. And we've seen this in fake videos, is there's no gap between the audio and video. And once you get that kind of physical consistency, I felt a lot better about it. I'm pretty convinced. But I remember I was talking to my wife over dinner and this thing is nagging us. So I said to everybody, send me a higher resolution video, we'll know more. I have a higher resolution video. First of all, completely different video than this. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, perfectly spaced. It's no transcoding. Now I'm like, done, we're done.
The sheer amount of photos and videos, especially videos now, that he's asked to check has increased a lot. It used to be maybe a photo or a video a week that he was being asked to check, and now it's basically several a day. In the past, having a few people like Hany could actually be seen as being a solution to this problem, but it's just becoming impossible. He really got interested very early on when digital photography was just starting. The question he was asking himself at that point was really, okay, how do I prove that a photo is real? Only after thinking about it for a few years, he kind of realized that he was asking the wrong question. The question was, okay, how can I show that a photo was manipulated in one certain way? He came up with this basically because he himself was creating an image on Photoshop where he was exchanging somebody's head. And then he realized, oh, if you do that, you should be able to tell in the pixels of the image that something had been resized. Of course, as our ability to generate images has changed, especially now with AI, his kind of toolbox has had to evolve, and he's had to look for, new signs for something not being real. If I manipulate an image or if I ask AI to generate an image, it doesn't necessarily get the physics right. So are the shadows correct? Are the reflections that are being seen correct? All of these kinds of things that when you take a photo, they're just there. In AI, there's a lot of room for some of that to just not be quite right.
What happens is when you edit in 2D, you're not editing in the world, and you screw these things up. You make things that are just physically impossible. I love physics and geometry because it's just so beautiful and understandable. Let me give you an example. If I throw a ball across the room, it will follow a parabola. Now, if you try to AI generate that, it'll do something arced, but will it move in precisely a parabola? There's an initial velocity and there's gravity. So that means if you look at that same time lapse, right, the gap will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then increase when gravity takes over. Getting that exactly right to follow the physics. First of all, how cool is it that you throw a ball that follows a parabola? The visual system doesn't care about physics. They're trying to make things that are visually appealing. This is a nice perspective analysis. This was an image making the rounds. You got the shallow depth of focus, you got the Secret Service in the background, that long red tie that he wears. Like, you look at this and you're like, that's really good, right? I mean, it really looks real. In particular here, points along parallel lines all have to converge to a single vanishing point. It's receding, but the precise thing is not quite right. Here we are, 2026, right? Still getting geometry wrong.
And one of the surprising things is that as humans, we don't have a good sense of that.
I was doing a panel the other day and somebody said, large language models will never be intelligent the way humans are because it's purely statistical. And I said, what do you think humans are? We're purely statistical, right? In fact, not very good statistical. at least the AI is getting the statistics right because it has good priors. So we're statistical inference. This is what we do. We do perceptual studies and we show people with the wrong physics and we're like, don't care. Because those don't matter to us. Yeah. We didn't evolve to ask, are the vanishing points in the physical world wrong? No, nothing is wrong in the physical world.
One of the big questions that I had for Hany Farid was, is there a reason to think that these kinds of methods that we're using now in terms of especially the physics, can't you just train these models to get that right? But it looks like that might actually be something that is quite hard.
Do I think there's a future where somebody builds a physics preserving, like CGI meets AI? Yeah, probably. Some jerk's gonna do that and it's gonna make my life miserable. Correctly modeling the 3D world is incredibly hard. There's incentive for bad guys to do it, right? But that's not who I'm worried about right now. I'm worried about OpenAI. I mean, that's who I'm worried about. And they're not incentivized to do that right now. They're just not.
It's not always clear that these images that are manipulated, that they've been manipulated with bad intent. So one of the things that can happen now a lot is that people will ask AI to improve their image in some way. It could down the road at some point lead to some kind of misinformation spreading through that image. Like, one of the interesting things we saw was when Alex Preedy was killed in Minnesota.
It was a pretty compelling photo, but somebody took this and just did like an enhancement. But there's some problems with this. Look at this thing that put it in his hand, which looks like a gun, by the way. And if you look at the video, there's just a shadow behind his hand, so it hallucinated a detail. And then the debate was, oh, he has a gun in his hand, that's why the ICE agent had to shoot him. The details matter, sometimes, and in fact, often matter, particularly in a court of law.
You're gonna have a lot of individual cases that are really profound and a huge human cost as well. This technology is out there in the world. It's not going to go away. Any solution to this at scale is probably going to include some kind of automated system that at least does some kind of pre-check. So that's where the real arms race then comes in. Honestly, I'm really conflicted about it. A very common move in humanity and one that never really works out that well to say, oh, we're creating this new problem, but we're going to use that same technology to then solve that problem. So I did feel coming out of this interview with Hany Farid that there's just this world that he's already completely immersed in that is kind of expanding and that we're all going to live in soon.
I'm concerned about the trajectory that we are currently on. I don't think it's too late. There's another path where we say, all right, enough is enough. Like, we have to start with the truth. We have to start with facts. And we can disagree on a lot of things after that, but we can't argue about whether 1 + 1 is 2.
I think that's a problem that is going to be even harder to solve than just checking a particular photo for whether it's real or not.